بين للتميز الحكومي لنتعرف منهم على قصص نجاحهم وتميزهم. في جلساتنا الأولى لهذا اليوم يسعدنا أن نرحب بالمتحدث العالمي ترولز ليحدثنا عن أفضل الممارسات في مجال الابتكار. For our first session of day 2, we proudly present Mr. Truls Berg in a session titled Best Practices in Innovation from Norway. Truls Berg is the founder and leader of Open Innovation Lab of Norway, as well as voted on the global top 6 list in open innovation by Thinkers 360. He's also the author of 3 books in Norway and the founder of 14 companies with a total of 1,200 employees.
Alniami was in Oslo and shared some fantastic innovation that came out of Dubai. So without any further ado, I would just like to invite you to share a very short video about the Nordics and especially then Norway, so that you know a bit more before we will start diving into what is needed to transcend to the next innovation level. So with that, let's start the video, and really happy to be with you.
Economy is changing. Norway is changing. Will we adapt or be left behind? The reality is harsher. The questions are tougher. Never has our ability to innovate been more crucial to cultivate. Our ability to collaborate intelligently more important. And our ability to create new value more key to survival. Norway, with only 5.5 million people, is consistently number 1 in the UN Human Development Index ranking. Norway is Europe's largest fisheries and aquaculture nation, Europe's largest oil producer, and the world's 3rd largest gas exporter. That has made Norway the owner of the world's largest fund, with investments spread across most markets, countries, and currencies in more than 9,000 companies globally. At Open Innovation Lab of Norway, we know that having the mindset, skill set, and tool set is important. We believe in the collision of human minds, and that the architects of the future are the innovators of today. With 50 of Norway's leading innovative corporations as members, we're creating added value and building the future, a future with fewer borders, more sharing, more collaboration, and more innovation. To learn more, please visit openinnovationlab.no.
Okay. I do hope you enjoyed the video, and as you then also heard, Norway, even though we're a long country, is only 5.5 million inhabitants. So size-wise, not so different. Together with the other Nordic countries, we are indeed the 11th largest economy. And I think that all of us, even though we might be sitting in different climate zones and we might be in different areas of the world, we are experiencing the same challenges these days. And I have not seen any better way to summarize some of those challenges than what was done in this book by Thomas Friedman back 4 years ago. The graph I'm sharing with you here is basically just saying that the exponential growth of the technology ability is outpacing our ability as humans to basically utilize. So there's a gap. There's a widening gap of possibilities that only innovation and innovative ideas is able to fulfill. So and that is why some of Norway's leading companies have, actually more than 50 of Norway's leading companies have been invited and accepted to share their ideas about what's going on the innovation scale, but more importantly to try to share their best practices and share what's going on across all the different industries. So this is an open innovation lab is where the airline talk to the bank, talk to the insurance company, talk to the governmental tax or agency, which talks to the national registry, talks to one of the leading counties, and all of these interactions, or what we like to say, great collisions of minds. And I have to say to all of you that we are strong believers in good collisions between open minds that are trusting each other enough so that they can share their ideas, share what's going on. And if we are able to do that across the companies, we believe that we are lifting all the companies, all the corporations, but we also believe that we are lifting Norway as a country. So one of the things we are doing are trying to make connections also outside of Norway. So I'm very proud to say that when Dr. Hassa Kalfanalmemi was in Oslo last week, he invited me, so I got the honor to be part of, and I should probably share that with you guys here. So we are now part of the Global Council for Innovative Organizations, which is founded by Dr. Hassa. So I hope that if you can hear me, that the Dubai Government Excellence Program Coordinator General Dr. Hassa, thank you very much for including me in that. And hopefully we can have that as a starting point for other great discussions. So in short, Open Innovation Lab of Norway is not a governmental body, but we do work across all the different sectors. So there are quite a few members that are from the governmental sector. There are some that are from the private sector, obviously. And there's also some that is from the, my English here, I'm sorry about that, but the ones that are just working to try to help out. So all the different sectors are included. And we are basically strong believers in that, even though innovation is probably the easiest thing we can do, and probably also the hardest thing we can do. The easiest meaning that we all have had some good ideas every now and then, whether it's in the shower or it's on the bus or on the beach. Sometimes we end up with a nice new idea, at least we think so. So in that sense, being innovative, being creative is something that we are born with. So it's the easiest thing to come up with a new idea. However, to implement new ideas into organizations and corporations is probably one of the hardest things there is to do. So that's why I'm saying it's a bit of both. So what's needed? What is basically the difference between those that fail and those that succeed? At Open Innovation Lab of Norway, we believe it boils down to having the right mindset. It's about having a skill set, and the skill set needs to be updated. And this is an area where nothing stands still, so that's important. But it's also about having the right tool set. So I will dive into share that those things with you. Let's start with the mindset, shall we? I'm a big believer in this Reno here. I like this guy because he is happily on the savannah in Africa, painting some beautiful pictures. However, his apparent problem is that all the pictures have the same, what should we call it, mountain in the middle of them, because that is how he sees the world. So even though we can smile, all of us, about this Reno, The problem is that it's very easy to see the bias that everyone else has, and it's really, really hard to see your own biases. So we are using this Rhino to basically ask all the members of Open Innovation Lab, are you aware of the different biases going on? And this PowerPoint here that I'm sharing with you is too complex to dive into now. But basically, it is showing us 18 different biases that most organizations are inclined to be subject to. I'd just like to jump in and say that I'm willingly sharing all the slides with you guys, so you can have a look at that. I know that quite a few of our members have printed this out and are basically just hanging it on the wall, and when something happens, they say, okay, now we are in the status quo bias area, which is down here, and basically is one of those things that we all probably tend to do sometimes. The other way to say the status quo problem is to say, if it ain't broke, you don't need to fix it. So, you know, we are doing pretty good now. So why should we change things? That is the status quo bias, which is just one of the biases. Another bias is the courtesy bias. You know, I used to be the CEO of a large, by Norwegian standards, large company with 250 people. And we had this new guy. He had been working with us for 2 months, and he was very eager in the meeting. So he suggested a new idea, and the idea was great. And I said, you know, why didn't you mention this earlier? Because apparently he had been thinking about it for a month. And he said that he wasn't sure that we were interested in hearing about his ideas, since he was such a new guy on the block. And this is what in this system here is called the courtesy bias, which again is also a problem. So to get the new ideas, he needed to understand that we were open, even though he hadn't started the company that like I had, and even though he hadn't been with us for 7 years like I had. So just to show you, and basically we could spend the rest of the hour on this slide only, but what I just want to hear, what I want to share with you is the fact that we all have those biases, and it's really, really key and also a bit fun to be aware of them. So that is one of those mindset issues that I think we should all be aware of. So that is an important. The other one is obviously what has become known as the fixed mindset versus the growth mindset. This is, again, I believe most of you in the room and most of you now listening in on this hopefully have a growth mindset, meaning that you think that there are more opportunities tomorrow than yesterday, and there are innovative ideas that can help all. That it's not something that if you come up with a new idea that will destroy everything for anyone else. So a growth mindset, meaning that we take responsibility and we are actually doing things, not only talking about things, is important. And in the old days, when I went to school, I was taught that when I'm done with school, then I can start practicing, and for the rest of my life I could practice. We all know that in sport and also in innovation, that is not the way we do it anymore. We need to jump between the performance zone, where we are performing on behalf of our corporations, but we also need to step out and go into the learning zone every now and then. And my friends, this is what Open Innovation Lab is trying to make happen. Last point I'd like to make in the area of mindset is from the boardroom and also at the boss level, the CXOs as they called in English. It's a whole new game, and I believe that some of our members have come quite a long way, but this is still an issue because it used to be much more industrial, so that you made the 3 to 5 year plans. And I'm still a big believer in making long plans, but you need to adjust them because of the VUCA factor. So we call this slide the VUCA slide. It's about the volatility, the uncertainty, the complexity, and the ambiguity level that we are all facing. Any part of the world today have to deal with those things. And it wouldn't have been an American term if it hadn't also been a solution to it. And obviously the solution is also called VUCA. And basically what it says is that we need to have the vision. We need to have a great understanding of what's going on. And it's also in a complex world, we need some clarity of goals, not perhaps only one goal, but it needs to be a clear idea about where are the company or the corporation going. And then when things do not work out as planned, as you know, they never do, then you need to have the agile organization so that you can utilize those new opportunities that open up instead of feeling derailed. So I think the VUCA is needed to look into. That's what we are telling our members. It demands a new way of leading, and you need to just not only to zoom out and look at the long term, but you also need to zoom in and look at the short term, which in some instances might be the next 8 weeks. So it's also some shifts going on, and let's just have one slide with those shifts. These are the shifts we see in Norway. We see them in the Nordic sector, and some of them, frankly, are pretty global. And I think this is, again, something we could discuss for the next 3 hours, or you could take my word for it that this is happening. It's probably happening in a different speed all around the world, but these 5 shifts, I think, are important. And for all of us that are change makers, and believe me, if you are working with innovation, you are a change maker. And making change is hard, but you're also a value creator, because it's not innovation if it does not bring value. So with that in mind, I would really challenge you to look at those things. There's less control in the Nordic organizations now than it used to be 25, 30 years ago when I started out creating my first company. And the young talents of today are much more about purpose than just building their own career. So in almost any new innovation going on right now, you will see that we have the ESG factor as part of it. And I'm pretty sure that in some ways you guys are ahead of us. And in some instances, we might learn from each other. For example, last week, together with Dr. Hassa, Tomra, which is a Norwegian company that have 68% of the world market in recycling bottles, presented their CEO, Tove Andersen, presented, and this company is now 50 years old. And she addressed the conference in Oslo, but she also said that even though we have been building growth for 50 years, we still only touching upon a couple of % of the world market when it comes to recycling bottles. So there's a lot of opportunities, but it's important that we understand that those shifts we see here are opportunities in disguise. They are opportunities for those that are utilizing it, but there are probably also threats for those that would like to keep in the status quo. So just to dive then into the key element here, what are the best practices going on in the area, and why has innovation become way more important? I'm not sure if that was mentioned in the beginning, but I'm also the leader of the Norwegian ISO 5600 committee. It's called Innovation Management, and it basically says that we are now getting some help from the standards, but you as innovators, you as value creators, as change makers, need to build your best practices on top of those standards. The Global Innovation Management Institute has done a fantastic job at building what I like to call as ISO 5600 plus. I'm not going to read all of this, but please have a look at this slide afterwards, and you will see that these are some of the benefits of having an innovation process and having an innovation management system in place. And an innovation management system, my ladies and gentlemen, is not something you need to buy, but it's something you need to implement. So this is what is going on in the Norwegian companies that are now part of the Open Innovation Lab. We are asking them to implement and establish an innovation management system so that the strategy and the mindset and the skill set and the tool set is clear. Our reason for doing that is that we're saying if you get that innovation management system in place, you are in a better position to convert the possibilities into increased innovation progress, and that's the key. It's about building muscles. So a bit fun, we call it innovation liftoff. You have to excuse us for trying to be a bit fun in this as well. There are some guiding principles. Again, I will not dive into all of that because we don't have the time for it, but please look at these. These are some of the points that we do believe that are part of the best practices or guiding principles. And again, we do not believe for a second that this is only for Norwegian companies. We believe that this is pretty universal. So it is about value creation. It's about knowledge creation. It's about building competence and capability. But it's also about leaders that are able to point out a strategic direction. And more than anything else, it's probably about culture. It is creating this culture where you can pick up a good idea from a customer, from a partner, from the government, from a student, from an employee that has been with you for 30 years, or for the new guy that only started 2 weeks ago. But it's also, in my opinion, about assessing the risk. Are you having an innovation portfolio that is making the road ahead doable? Can you, with those innovation projects going on, look the CEO or the chairman in the eye and say, yes, we are creating the value that you need in order to have a secure company or a corporation 5 years down the road? And believe you me, this is probably one of the toughest jobs, but also one of the most important jobs for any Norwegian company. And I expect that to be the case also in Dubai. So what are we doing in order to make these things happen? I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this either, but we are visiting innovative areas around the world. We are almost every year going a tour over to the CES conference in Las Vegas. We have a special day at Stanford University where we have a program that is put up for us. Stanford has been a partner for many years. And because Stanford also have some biases, we do the same with Berkeley at the other side there. We are also in close partnership with the Japan Innovation Network, and I'm a lecturer at the Tsinghua University in Beijing. We are doing work with South Korean Innovation Network and also with Singapore. So I'm really happy to hope that we can do more together with Dubai now as partners in this Global Council for Innovative Organizations. I don't think, actually I have to say one thing more, and that is that we do have some benefits from having this digital innovation portal that is helping us talk to each other between meetings, between the master classes and everything. This one is important, but this is basically just a graphical view of the ISO 5600. So please take my word for it. Look into what Global Innovation Management Institute, and I do believe that Dubai is one of the leading examples already of that. So you are probably already aware of these. And this is, again, when it comes to best practices, we are stressing, and we are really, really stressing this one. So we are, in short, talking to our members and saying, if you do not have both projects going on in the core, but also at the adjacent and the transformative level, you are probably not doing your job the way it should be done. So a balanced portfolio of innovation projects should include all. However, we do say that 70% of the money and the resources should probably be spent in the core. 20% should probably, this is again just best practices. I don't believe that is the only way to do it. But we have come to learn that that is kind of the best practices. But then at least 10% of your money, time, and resources should be spent also on looking outside and to be more transformative or disruptive, so to speak. Again, willing to share this. We have kind of done a few changes to it from this started out, as you all know, from Harvard, but how to play and where to play, we changed it a bit so it's more suited now for Norwegian companies. I also like to just basically just mention that we also are big believers in what we call early learning. So when you start out a project, it is useful to have a look at some of those thousands of projects that has already been going on for quite a while in the innovation area. And there's a Dutch professor, his name is Paul Iske, and he's on our advisory board, together with Hitendra Patel, the CEO of Global Innovation Management Institute, together with Henry Chesborough, the man behind the Open Innovation Term, and quite a few others. And Paul Iske, this Dutch professor, he has come to learn after looking into more than 3,000 different innovation projects that basically there's only 16 things that go wrong. And he has built them into archetypes. And he said that, and he has built a system for that. And we are a user of that system and say that instead of waiting 2 years or 6 months or 3 months even, why don't we start with asking some of those pointed questions? Do you have the right people with you in the team? Do you have a clear understanding of what the user really wants? Do you have funding? do you have the buy-in from someone at the CXO level? All of these questions are basically popping up the moment you start your project. So please have a look at it, and then we can talk more about it. Okay, I'm looking at my watch here. We're going to land quite soon, but just for the last 4 minutes here now, let me also mention to you that at Open Innovation Lab of Norway, we are strong believers in basically keeping score, as we say. So, and it's difficult because you cannot really keep score at the same level at what you do on the regular level, but you still should measure what's going on also on the innovation side. So to help our members, we have created, it's what we call the measurement sheet, and that measurement sheet consists of 35 different, how should I call it in English, different factors that you can measure. I'm not advocating that all of these measurements are making sense in all different areas, but I would argue and say that at least 4, 5, 6 of them should be quite easy to say, okay, this is what we can measure here. So we also made a tool, and that tool is free for our members. We call it Innovation Navigator. So it's basically helping you get this measurements done on the screen. I'm happy to share more about that at the later stage, but just here and now, addressing the fact that best practices in Norway now is to start measuring. 2 years ago, almost nobody was doing it in a meaningful way. We expect that almost everybody that are serious about innovation will do that next year. Still a bit early, but that's what's going on. And then one of those things, I'm sorry for having some Norwegian on this slide here, but basically crowdsourcing, the Norwegian text here says that more heads are better thinkings than one head. And that's the whole idea about crowdsourcing. And we made an agreement with the company that is the same company that NASA, the American NASA organization, is using to come up with new ideas. So this is for our members a new area, but we think that this is one of the next practices, so to speak, that will be more utilized. For example, Equinor, this Norwegian company that is the largest company in the Nordics, oil and gas, and also clean energy corporations, a big one. They are looking more into crowdsourcing now than ever before, and they would like to utilize the talents of students, customers, partners, and suppliers. And we cannot really say that the Norwegians have been very good at it, but we see more and more companies and corporations now opening up to this idea of putting out a challenge there. A challenge, by the way, is just another way to say a problem. So if you have a problem that you think that innovation can solve, the idea is to bring that out and see who come up with the best solution. And it's smart to have a tool for that. So the tool we are using is the tool that is called HeroX. And I think that this brings me down to the landing. It's all about collaboration. It's all about partnerships. It's all about teamwork, and it's all about inspiration. And again, the text here is basically just a text from one of the CEOs that said that he had no idea that he would be so inspired after talking to someone that was in a completely different industry. And that is, again, Just bringing us over and back to what I mentioned earlier, that to be a good innovation leader in 2022 and 2023, part of the issue is about zooming in, not really just looking at the yearly period, but also looking at what you can do and what you should do the next 8 weeks, but also then to zoom out and look at the long-term perspective. What is going on? Should we start utilizing this new concept of AI, for example, which is not so new anymore? I used to sell AI solutions back in 1992. In Norway, by the way, we are strong believers in renaming AI. So we call AI to our members. We are basically saying that look at it not as artificial, but look at it as additional intelligence. So include it in your projects, but don't think that it's going to create magic on its own. So with that, I do hope to have you guys visiting Norway. I see it's a mistake here. This is the next conference going on in 2033, on the 16th of March 2023. And I would be really happy to see some of you in the room then. And with that, it's basically all about building the future, innovation capabilities, innovation prowess, probably the most important work anyone can do in this troubled world of ours. And I happen to believe very strongly that if you are collaborating across borders, we are in a better position to come up with better solutions and then to win. So good luck in building the future. Thank you for listening and make it a great day. And thank you very much from us here in Norway for listening to us. And keep in mind what I said in the beginning. We do believe that we have at least as much to learn from you guys that you have from us. So this is again a two-way street. So I'm really, really looking forward to learn more from what is also going on the Dubai Best Practices series. Thank you and have a great day.
Thank you, Mr. Trolls, for this informative and inspiring presentation. حضورنا الكريم، ونعود من النرويج إلى دبي. نرحب بكم مرة أخرى في لقاءات أفضل الممارسات 2022. ننتقل الآن إلى الجلسات المعرفية المتوازية للجهات الفائزة في الجوائز المؤسسية في الدورة التقييمية 2021. متابعينا الكرام، سينقسم الآن البث المباشر إلى قاعتين افتراضيتين.